walk. But I'm learning slowly, just like they learned slowly. The more I do, the more that I walk with the Lord, the longer that I continue in His calling, that I ain't got nothing to worry about when it comes to what He calls me to do. You know, I talked about it last time I was here, this idea of me becoming a pastor. It really scared me at first, and I thought I was going to fail miserably. And I thought by now the church would have already burnt down and everybody be gone and all this other stuff. But to discover that when God's in something, and as long as we're obedient and we listen to the call, then it's going to succeed. Then He's going to make it happen. And to see this, keep my eyes focused on Him, because I don't want to sink because of my fears. I want to continue to trust in Him. And we'll see that over time, man, the disciples get better and better and better at this. You know that over time we get better and better and better at this as well. And it's a process, and it takes time, and we're not going to be perfect. And Jesus has compassion on us when we get scared. In Matthew chapter 14, verse 33, it says, "Then those who were in the boat came and worshipped Him, saying, 'Truly, you are the Son of God.'" Isn't it wonderful how it goes from, "Who is this man who even the wind and the waves obey?" to the very next interaction they have in the sea where it's scary. It goes to, "Truly, you are the Son of God." You see the progression. You see their faith growing. You see them starting to see Jesus for who He is. And it's because He allows different circumstances in our lives to test us that we become perfected in our faith. Right? He is the author and the perfecter of our faith. And how does He do that? By making us trust Him. Right? The only way for us to learn to trust Him is to be put in a situation where we have to trust Him. I don't know why we're so thick-headed, why it takes those things for us to learn that way. Pray for patience, right? And God will give you something to be patient about. You want more faith? God will put you in a circumstance where you have to trust Him more. And it's through these trials, it's through these circumstances that we start to grow in our faith, because we start to learn that the more I trust Him, and the less I have to worry. Because every time I get put in an impossible situation, God shows out. His name gets glorified. I'm successful because I'm walking in what He's called me to do. When I try it on my own, guess what happens? 9 times out of 10, I fail. 9 times out of 10, I can't do it. Or I get to the point where I have to give up. When He does it, man, it's amazing. Everything just falls into place. And it's crazy how this works. But He even sends us into these different situations at times. Do we cry out for God to lead us? Call me out of the boat and I'll come. Command me to do it and I'll come, God. And then when He commands us, we actually do it. Are we willing to follow that command? Are we willing to trust in the Lord even when we don't have any ground to stand on? Even when we don't have any ground to stand on. Do we allow the storms to cause fear and doubt, even when we're already walking on water? That's why it's so important that we keep our eyes on Jesus. He's the one that's important. He's the one that gives us the strength and the courage to do these things. Peter was out there. He was already walking on water as if it was solid ground. And all he had to do was turn his head and look at the winds and the waves. And he began to sink. It's that simple. We take our eyes off the Lord for 1 second and we will start to sink. The amazing thing about that though is, and I really want to point this out, is immediately when Peter starts to sink, Jesus scoops him up and pulls him right out of the water. Rescues him. Peter's not faulted for it. In fact, in my mind, I'm like, man, that's amazing that he would even step out of the boat and try to walk on that water in the middle of this storm. Like, he must have really had an amazing faith to be able to step out in faith onto this water. Had no ground to stand on. But it shows us how quickly things can decline if we take our eyes off the Lord, right? It was such an encouraging thing because they had him right in front of them performing all these miracles. They got to participate in the miracles. They got to become apostles. They were there when he fed the 5,000. They got to hand out all the food. And they still struggled. What does this say for us? That it's okay to struggle. It's okay to struggle. In fact, it's part of the process. If these men who walked with Jesus and saw all these amazing things struggled, you think you're not going to struggle? We're going to struggle too, right? And although they struggled, we get to see the progress. And eventually we get to the book of Acts and we get to see some of the letters that were written and the things that they were writing. They taught on all of these principles. The things that they learned from experiences like these. It gives me so much hope and insight as to how our faith progresses and grows. If you're struggling with some of the seasons or the circumstances in your life, if you feel like you're in the middle of the storm, man, what can you get out of it? How can you trust the Lord to get you through this season of your life? And when he calls you out of the boat, are you going to be willing to move? Are you going to be willing to go out? It's not this simple leap or this snap of a finger that we become these amazing men and women of faith. Sometimes it takes the storm or the terrible circumstances that we find ourselves in order for us to be perfected and to grow our faith. And even if it's not him that creates the circumstance, right? Because he sent the disciples out into the storm. Even if it is the enemy, per se,